Welcome to BookTube English. Let's improve our English while exploring the most widely read books in the world. This channel features a variety of genres: self-help, business, health, religion, and spirituality, all organized into separate playlists. Have you ever felt completely blindsided by someone's actions? Have you ever looked back at a conversation, a negotiation, or even a relationship and thought, how did I not see that coming? Have you ever wished, just for a moment, that you had a user manual for other people? What if I told you that manual exists? Today, we're diving deep, and I mean really deep, into a book that's been described as a definitive guide to decoding human behavior. It's a modern masterpiece that feels like it holds ancient secret knowledge. We are talking about The Laws of Human Nature by the one and only Robert Greene. Now, if you've been around the world of ambitious reading, the name Robert Greene should ring a massive bell. He is the #1 New York Times best-selling author of the legendary and controversial book, The 48 Laws of Power, a book that has found its way into the hands of everyone from world leaders and corporate executives to cultural icons like Jay-Z and 50 Cent. Greene isn't your typical self-help author. His specialty, his genius, is analyzing the lives of the most powerful and influential figures in history. People like Napoleon, Sun Tzu, Queen Elizabeth I, and distilling their philosophies and strategies into actionable and sometimes ruthless lessons for modern life. With The Laws of Human Nature, Greene turns his powerful analytical lens away from the pursuit of external power and focuses it on the most important subject of all: understanding the inner world of people. Why do people do what they do? What drives their ambitions, their fears, their passions, especially the motivations they aren't even aware of themselves? The book starts with a fundamental truth that we often forget. We are social animals. Our success, our happiness, our very survival depends on our ability to navigate our relationships. You can be the most talented artist, the most brilliant coder, or the most skilled entrepreneur, but if you can't understand people, if you can't read their intentions, manage their egos, and inspire their loyalty, your other talents can only take you so far. Knowing why people do what they do is, as Greene argues, the most important tool we can possibly possess. This book is an absolute giant. It's not a quick weekend read. It's an immersive experience. It's structured into 18 laws, each one tackling a fundamental aspect of our nature. We're talking about laws like the law of irrationality, the law of narcissism, the law of role-playing, the law of short-sightedness, and so many more. Each chapter is a deep dive, filled with stunningly vivid stories of historical figures. You'll read about Pericles calming the panicked citizens of Athens, about Martin Luther King Jr. masterfully managing the conflicting egos within the civil rights movement, and about Coco Chanel creating a brand new identity for herself and the world. Greene's goal here is ambitious. He wants to teach us how to detach ourselves from our own overwhelming emotions and master self-control. He wants to give us the tools to develop true empathy, the kind that leads to profound insight into others. He teaches us how to look behind the polite masks that everyone wears, how to resist the pull of conformity to develop your own unique sense of purpose. Whether you're trying to succeed at work, build stronger relationships, or simply defend yourself from the toxic and manipulative people we all inevitably encounter, this book offers brilliant practical tactics for success, self-improvement, and self-defense. And don't just take my word for how groundbreaking this book is. The critics and reviewers have been blown away.
Quartz says, the writing is engaging and the ideas are fascinating. A hopeful book that advocates freedom and creativity. Inc. magazine highlights the incredible storytelling, noting each law has stunningly vivid descriptions of an historical figure. The New York Journal of Books puts it perfectly, saying Greene's intense curiosity about the inner workings of humanity is contagious, as he invites us to join him as fellow sleuths on his investigation of why people, including ourselves, do what we do. And for anyone who might be skeptical, Publishers Weekly promises that even skeptics will become believers after diving into Greene's well-organized text, and that for the committed reader, it will deliver a refreshing and revitalizing perspective. The book has a massive following, with over 16,000 ratings on Amazon and a stellar 4.35 out of 5 on Goodreads from over 26,000 readers. What are everyday readers like you and me saying? The consensus is clear. Customers find the book brilliant and deeply insightful. Many say it's a book that fundamentally helps them understand life and human behavior in a new way. They praise the engaging writing style, with one person noting it feels like a compilation of practical daily experiences. While most find it readable, some do mention that it's a dense read, perhaps even more challenging than Greene's other works, because the concepts are so profound. But the overwhelming sentiment is that this is a masterpiece, a book that's full of wisdom for our inner struggles. So, are you ready to become a fellow sleuth? Are you ready to investigate what makes people tick? Let's start by exploring the very first and arguably the most important law in the entire book. This first chapter is called Master Your Emotional Self, and the law is the law of irrationality. Greene opens with a direct challenge to our ego. He writes, and I'm paraphrasing here, "You like to imagine yourself in control of your fate, consciously planning the course of your life as best you can. But you are largely unaware of how deeply your emotions dominate you." Think about that for a second. We all believe we're logical. We believe we make decisions based on facts and careful thought. But Greene says, no, for the most part, we don't. Our emotions are the secret puppet masters. They pull our strings in ways we don't even notice. They make us gravitate toward ideas that soothe our ego, ideas that make us feel good about ourselves. They make us actively search for evidence that confirms what we already want to believe. This is what psychologists call confirmation bias. And most dangerously, our emotions make us see the world not as it is, but as we feel it is. If you're in a bad mood, the world seems dark and hostile. If you're in a great mood, the same world can seem full of opportunity and kindness. This disconnect from reality, Greene argues, is the source of almost all our bad decisions and the negative patterns that haunt our lives. It's why we pick fights with people we love, why we make terrible financial investments on a whim, why we stay in jobs or relationships that are clearly bad for us. So, what's the solution? The solution is rationality. But he defines rationality in a very specific way. It's not about being a cold, unfeeling robot. Not at all. Rationality is the ability to counteract these emotional effects. It's the power to think instead of react. It's the ability to open your mind to what is really happening as opposed to what you are feeling about what's happening. And he makes a crucial point. This power does not come naturally. It is a skill we must consciously and diligently cultivate. But in doing so, we unlock our greatest human potential. To illustrate this law, Greene doesn't just give us a theory, he tells us a story. A powerful, high-stakes story from ancient history. Let's travel back in time together. Picture this. It's the year 432 BC. The city of Athens is the jewel of the ancient world. It's a bustling hub of commerce, philosophy, and art. It's the world's first great democracy. But a shadow is falling over the city. A sense of dread is in the air. Representatives from their mortal enemy, the city-state of Sparta, have arrived with an ultimatum. Sparta is the polar opposite of Athens. It's a militaristic, oligarchic state built on discipline and brute force. They've given Athens a choice: Either you agree to our new humiliating terms of peace, or we declare war. War would be devastating. It could mean the end of the Athenian Empire, the end of their democracy, the end of their entire way of life. The city is on the verge of panic. A few days later, all the citizens of Athens gather in their assembly to decide their fate. The mood is electric with fear and anger. People are shouting. Some are yelling, "Give in! Peace at any cost!" Others are screaming, "Never! We must attack them now! Show them our strength!" It is a storm of raw, unchecked emotion. They are reacting, not thinking. And then, one man stands up to speak. His name is Pericles. He's the leading statesman of Athens, respected for his wisdom and his calm demeanor. But in this moment, even he has to struggle to be heard over the emotional chaos. What does he do? Does he appeal to their anger? Does he try to soothe their fear with false promises? No, he does something much more difficult. He appeals to their reason. He calmly begins to speak. He acknowledges their fear and their anger. He says, "I see you are emotional. I understand why. The stakes have never been higher." By validating their emotions first, he gets them to quiet down and listen. Then he begins to methodically, logically break down the situation. He tells them not what they want to hear, but what they need to hear. He analyzes Sparta's true weaknesses and Athens' real strengths. He reminds them that Athens has a powerful navy and immense wealth, while Sparta has a strong army but is poor and has no real navy. He lays out a long-term strategy. He advises them not to engage in a direct land battle they would surely lose, but to use their naval power to raid Sparta's coast, to wear them down, to use their wealth to outlast them in a long war of attrition. It was not a glorious, exciting plan. It was a patient, difficult, and strategic plan. It required discipline and self-control. It went against every emotional impulse in the crowd. They wanted immediate action, a heroic charge. Pericles offered them a slow, grinding, but ultimately more certain path to victory. He was asking them to overcome their own human nature, their irrationality, their short-sightedness, their desire for quick emotional release. And because of his immense credibility and the sheer force of his logic, they listened. He managed to instill in the entire city-state his own spirit of rationality. He became, as Greene calls it, the inner Athena, the voice of wisdom and reason for all of Athens. Now, you might be thinking, okay, that's a cool history lesson, but what does a story about ancient Greeks have to do with my life, with my job, with my argument with my partner last night? The answer is everything. The Athenian assembly is a perfect metaphor for our own minds. Every single day, we have a crowd of emotions inside us, all shouting for attention. Fear is screaming, "Don't take that risk, you might fail." Anger is yelling, "That person disrespected you, you have to retaliate now." The ego is whispering, "You're right, they're wrong, don't you dare apologize." Our job is to become our own Pericles. Our job is to be that calm, rational voice in the center of our own mental storm. It's about taking a breath before you send that angry email to your colleague. It's about stepping back and analyzing the facts before you make a huge financial decision based on a gut feeling. It's about understanding that what you feel in the moment is just data. It's not necessarily the truth. This is the foundation of the entire book. Before you can understand the irrationality in others, you must first recognize and master it in yourself. It's a lifelong practice, but it's the first and most critical step towards becoming a more effective, insightful, and powerful human being. Now that we've established this foundation, I want to share 3 of my absolute
favorite quotes from this book. These are the lines that really stuck with me, the ideas that I keep coming back to. I'm going to read each one in English and then we'll unpack it together to see the deep wisdom hidden inside. Are you ready? Here is the first one. It's a powerful piece of advice on how to think. Greene writes, "Your first impulse should always be to find the evidence that disconfirms your most cherished beliefs and those of others. That is true science." Let's break that down. Your first impulse. This means it should be your default setting, your automatic reaction. When you hear something or when you feel strongly about something, what's the very first thing you should do? He says you should actively look for evidence that proves you wrong. Think about how counterintuitive that is. Our natural emotional impulse is to do the exact opposite. We look for evidence that confirms what we believe. It's comfortable. It validates our ego. If you believe a certain political candidate is a genius, you'll click on articles that praise them. If you think a certain investment is a sure thing, you'll listen to people who agree with you. We build these comfortable little bubbles around ourselves called echo chambers. Greene is telling us to deliberately and courageously pop that bubble. He's saying if you have a cherished belief, something you hold dear, something that's part of your identity, that is the very belief you should challenge the most. Go out and find the smartest person who disagrees with you and listen to their arguments. Read the book that critiques your worldview. Why? Because, as he says, that is true science. A true scientist doesn't try to prove their hypothesis is right. A true scientist tries their absolute hardest to prove their hypothesis is wrong. They run experiments to try and break their own theory. If, after all of that effort, the theory still stands, then they can have some real confidence in it. We need to apply that same rigorous standard to our own lives. Are you sure your boss is a terrible manager? Your first impulse should be to look for evidence of times they were actually supportive or made a good decision. Are you convinced your business idea is flawless? Your first impulse should be to find all the potential reasons it could fail. This isn't about being negative or pessimistic. It's about being a realist. It's about pursuing the truth, not just comfort. It's an act of intellectual humility and courage. And it's a habit that, if you can cultivate it, will save you from countless mistakes and give you a clarity of thought that very few people possess. All right, let's move on to the second quote. This one gets to the heart of why we so often misjudge people. Greene observes, "The truth is that we humans live on the surface, reacting emotionally to what people say and do. We form opinions of others and ourselves that are rather simplified. We settle for the easiest and most convenient story to tell ourselves." This is so profound. We humans live on the surface. We see what people present to us, their words, their smile, their job title, their social media profile, and we take that as the whole picture. We are constantly making quick, superficial judgments. That person is quiet, so they must be arrogant. That person is loud and friendly, so they must be trustworthy. Greene says we do this because we're reacting emotionally. Our judgments aren't logical deductions. They're emotional shortcuts. We form these simplified opinions because it's easy. It takes a lot of mental energy to look deeper, to consider that the quiet person might just be shy or introverted, or that the loud, friendly person might be putting on a performance to hide their insecurity, or even manipulative intentions. The most powerful phrase in this quote for me is the last one. We settle for the easiest and most convenient story to tell ourselves. Stories are how we make sense of the world, but we often choose the story that requires the least amount of thinking and causes the least amount of discomfort. For example, if someone cuts you off in traffic, the easiest story is, that person is a complete jerk. They're selfish and have no respect for anyone. It's a simple, emotionally satisfying story that makes us the victim and them the villain. A more complex and likely more accurate story might be, that person might be having a terrible day. Maybe they're rushing to the hospital. Maybe they just lost their job and their mind is somewhere else. Or maybe they just made a mistake. This story is harder. It requires empathy, and it doesn't give us that satisfying hit of righteous anger. So we usually settle for the easier story. This applies to ourselves too. I failed that test because the teacher hates me is an easier story than I failed that test because I didn't study hard enough. I'm not getting promoted because of office politics is an easier story than I need to develop more skills and improve my communication. Greene's challenge to us is to stop settling. He wants us to become detectives of human nature, to look for the clues beneath the surface, to ask why. Why is that person acting that way? What might be the story behind their story? What's the more complex, less convenient truth? When you start asking these questions, you stop being a reactor and you start being an observer. And that brings us perfectly to our third and final quote. This quote isn't a law or an observation. It's a promise. It's the ultimate benefit you get from reading and applying the wisdom in this book. Greene states, first, the laws will work to transform you into a calmer and more strategic observer of people, helping to free you from all the emotional drama that needlessly drains you. Let's really savor that. To transform you into a calmer and more strategic observer. What does that mean in practice? It means that when you're in a tense meeting and someone makes a passive-aggressive comment, the old you might have reacted emotionally. You'd feel a surge of anger or insecurity. You might snap back, or you might shut down for the rest of the meeting, replaying the comment over and over in your head. The new you, the calm and strategic observer, sees it differently. You don't just react to the surface comment. You observe. You think, okay, that's interesting. Why did they say that? This is an example of the law of envy in action. They feel threatened by my recent success on that project. This isn't really about me, it's about their own insecurity. Do you see the difference? In the first scenario, you are a participant in the drama. In the second, you are an observer of the dynamic. You are detached. You are calm.
And because you are calm, you are strategic. You can choose the best response. Maybe the best response is to ignore it. Maybe it's to address it calmly and directly later on. The point is, you have a choice. You are no longer a puppet of your emotions or theirs. And the result of this transformation, it will free you from all the emotional drama that needlessly drains you. Think of how much mental and emotional energy we waste every day on drama. Worrying about what someone thinks of us, getting sucked into pointless arguments, feeling resentful or envious. It is exhausting. It drains our creativity, our focus, and our happiness. By becoming a calm, strategic observer, you conserve that precious energy. You step out of the drama and onto a higher plane. You can then redirect all that saved energy towards what truly matters. Your goals, your relationships, your personal growth, your sense of purpose. This, to me, is the ultimate promise of the laws of human nature. It's not just about understanding others to gain an advantage over them. It's about understanding human nature to free yourself. It's a path to self-mastery and a more peaceful, powerful, and effective life. So, to wrap things up, The Laws of Human Nature by Robert Greene is more than just a book. It's a code book for the human experience. It's a field guide to the most complex and fascinating creature on the planet, us. It's a dense, challenging, and incredibly rewarding journey that will arm you with a new perspective on every interaction you have. It will make you a better leader, a more empathetic friend, a more understanding partner,
and most importantly, a more conscious and rational master of your own mind. It's a book to be studied, not just read, and its lessons will stay with you for a lifetime. If you've been searching for a book that will genuinely change the way you see the world and the people in it, this is it. I hope you found this deep dive helpful and intriguing. If you did, it would mean the world to me if you could give this video a like, share it with someone who you think would find it interesting, and of course, subscribe to BookTube English for more explorations of the world's greatest books. But now, I really want to hear from you. What are your thoughts on this? Does the law of irrationality resonate with your own experiences? Have you read The Laws of Human Nature or any of Robert Greene's other books? If so, what was your biggest takeaway? Or, if you have a recommendation for a book you think we should explore next on the channel, please drop your thoughts and suggestions in the comments below. I read every single one. Thank you so much for joining me today. Until next time, keep reading and keep learning.